Okay, so what you're watching right now is actually a clip from my first recordings of this, which is why I had to wait until today to edit everything. I've been sick for a little while, if you can't tell, and I went through and I recorded two nice long sessions, like 2-3 hours worth. Went through and did all the audio, and got to the video part. I don't know why I didn't think of checking the video first, and I didn't. Got to the video part, and it was all fucked. So I've had to re-record everything, but you've missed out on a few things, and that's what you're watching now. It's just a quick me running through the vault, showing you what the land just surveying the land, just taking a look at the area that we're going to be scavenging at. I went through and I killed all the Garys that were inside Vault 108 and all the mole rats and stuff. So there's nothing left alive inside Vault 108 except for me. And that's the general idea. That's what you've missed. Okay, so we've left off with where did we leave off? We left off at the end of the vault after I had killed everything. So everything that's in the vault that's hostile is dead. So this is now, we've sort of taken claim to this vault. So that's the good news. We now have a place to live. But, as you could see, this vault is just filled with filth. And dead bodies and blood and trash and empty bean cans and fucking whatever this shit is in the air. I sure don't want to be breathing that on a normal basis. So we gotta clean this bitch up. Which is very time consuming. I will warn you, it's tedious and time consuming, but it's worth it in the end. Because it looks really nice. So let's do a quick lesson on the console, using the console particularly. How the console works, okay, like everything you see in the world, including the land and the doors, everything that has a spawned instance of itself. A cup has a reference ID. Drinking glass. That's the reference ID for this cup. If I try to spawn that in, I'll get something totally different than the cup. These two cinder blocks. Here's a good example. The two cinder blocks are a better example. We got one cinder block, and that's the reference ID. You look at the other cinder block, and the reference ID is different. To get the base object of something, the reference ID is not spawnable. You have to spawn it with its base ID. To get the base object ID, you would target it by clicking on it so that it's selected. And then type GBO. And that's going to give you the base object. Now, what I'll do is I'll write down the base object ID for the cinder block. Because the cinder block is something that I'm going to be keeping. It's something that I can use to build a wall. Or something else, an anvil, something neat and useful or interesting in its own right. Now, the way that Let's Scavenge works is we can only use things that we find to survive. You see, the thing is, now that I have the base object of a cinder block, I can spawn one in. Oh, let's spawn one in front of this cup. CBA4. 1. Another C. Here we go. I put the 1 there because if you can, I believe you can spawn it in without the 1. But if you do, sometimes when you dezone or change zones, it'll disappear. If you put the 1 there, it's almost always guaranteed to stay there. I've never had a problem with it yet since. But I have had a problem with shit disappearing when I don't use the 1. So bear that in mind. Anyway, I have placed a cinder block where that cup is. Okay? And so theoretically, I have an unlimited amount of cinder blocks just because I have that number. Because I can spawn in as many cinder blocks as I want. But see, that's not how this is going to work. Because we can only survive with the things that we find. That's the way it's going to work. Almost as if the situation was, I don't know, a little more realistic. These chairs, for example. I can use these chairs. I can use these cinder blocks. I can use this wood. this table, these supply crates, but I can only use them as I found them. If I find, let's say there's no desks in this place, for example. We have the table. Let's say I need more tables, for example. I need more tables. I can leave, find some more tables, and use those. It gets tedious, but it really is a lot of fun. Especially if you like games where you get to build stuff. And this isn't like that kind of game, but I turned it into that kind of game because, I don't know, I was fucking around one time and just ended up learning these commands thinking, man, this is really cool. I bet I could build an entire place all I wanted to. And it was actually while I was using Real-Time Settler, because Real-Time Settler kept messing up on me. The problem with Real-Time Settler is every time I would go to play something, it would disappear or something. It was really annoying. So I started doing it this way. And it really works fun. It's just tedious. You have to get past the tedious part of it. So I got this list of commands. I want to talk about what commands we got and also talk about, like when you, okay, in this particular direction, when I click on this cinder block, there's not just this cinder block here. If I scroll my mouse wheel up, that's probably the door, but I don't know until I disable it. That was the land. That was the tunnel that I'm in. Now, when that happens, that is going to happen. You'll click on something, for example. I'll give you a good example. Let's say you go to click on this bones and you miss and hit the ground behind it and you disable. Don't do anything. Just don't panic. Don't click anywhere else, because as long as you still got the reference number targeted, you can enable it again. And no harm done. If you accidentally click somewhere else and the reference ID is gone, you're pretty screwed. It's not exactly easy to get that information back. So, try to avoid those kinds of situations. And just try again until you get a different reference ID number. You know, oh, obviously that's not the bones. Oh, that must be the bones. You know, shit like that. But to make sure that you have targeted what you're trying to target, it's probably good to just very slowly about it when you go to disable something. Now, I'm going to give you another example. I want to target that crate right there. I got $100 says that that's not the crate that I've targeted. Granted, I can spell correctly. I disabled fog. Did you see that? It's a better idea to get up on top of the object that you want to target and then disable it, or and then enable it, of course, if you don't want to get rid of it. That way you know you have it selected, because maybe you want to change its scale. 0.5. Oh, I can't do that. My bad. I can't do that to the things that have been spawned in by the computer. I can set scale on anything that I've spawned in, but it doesn't work that way for anything that the map actually has already. I'd have to disable it and spawn a new one in. So, but yeah, that's the general idea of that. You can't target something through light beams is another good example. You can't target through light beams, because light beams are themselves a decal in a sort of sense. If I disable, having clicked on that door, I'll disable the light beam. And if I were to click anywhere else before enabling it, the reference number would change and I'd never be able to get back. It'd be gone. And especially if you close your console window, you are fucked. Don't do anything. Don't panic. And save frequently. Before you start fucking with an area, like as soon as you're done with this hallway. Okay, let's start off with this hallway, so I can show you my process of how I do it. First thing I'm going to do is get the base object of GBO. This. Cinder block. Write it down. 0001 CBA4. And I see 2, so I'm going to put 2 lines next to it. 1, 2. I know there's more in this hallway, I'm sure of it. But I'm going to stop at the door. Nope, that's all the cinder blocks we have in this room particularly. Alright. So, the cinder blocks, now that I know how many there are, and I've got their ID recorded, they can be disabled. Alright, so the cinder blocks are dealt with. Anything that's loose that you can pick up, go ahead and pick it up. And another thing, I see a lot of these bones. One thing that's important to remember, some stuff is really good for, especially if you're building something that you want to make look cool. Some stuff is not necessarily something that we're going to worry about how many we have on hand. Like these bones. I am not worried about their base object. I'm not worried about the quantity of how many bones, rib bones I have. You can always get their base object, write that down, and put that information in if that's what you want to do. But for me, bones are pretty easy to find in the wasteland. I'm not going to worry about where they're at or how many I have on hand. If I want to use it, I'm just going to fucking use it. There's no point in worrying about how many bones I have already found, because you're going to be recording that information a lot. All I'm going to worry about is getting them out of my way for the time being. Let's go ahead and turn my pip light on. There we go, Pip-Boy light. Grab the loose stuff here that I can carry. I do that for a reason. There's no point in disabling, getting the base object of a book and then disabling the book and then spawning it in somewhere else when I can easily just, and then drop it. You know what I mean? Okay. So, once this series picks up, it'll get a lot more fun. Release bones. Oops. Okay, now you see how I didn't have the bones targeted? You saw that. I didn't panic. I can re-enable that Wastelander if I want to. But, of course, when I do, his clothing has changed. To be honest with you, though, I already looted him, and I wasn't going to keep him around anyway. So he can go. But did you notice how I clicked on the bones and something else disappeared? See, don't panic when that happens. It's gonna happen, like it or not, even to me. This skeleton bones would be something really cool for like a dungeon or jail, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. We'll find it out in the waste. We don't need that dead body. Now, this is something I'm gonna take the GBO of now because I like the way these look. So I'll get the base object of the cow skull now. 0024448 4448. There we go. And I'm not going to worry about, what I'll do is I'll add that to a second list. And I'll call those, I don't know, how about legacy items? Those are items that we will have automatically. We don't need an on-hand amount because they're just things that are so common that, or so unique in its own way, that it's going to be pointless for us to actually worry about how many we have on hand. Like a cow skull. You kill a cow, you get 2 skulls. I'm not worried about how many cow skulls I have in the waste. So I'm going to write cow skull real quick. And then, I forgot to write cinder block. Thank God. I caught that. 2. Okay. Now I can disable the cow skull, because I have its number. I don't want it in this room. I'll spawn it in where I want it, and then move it into position. Disable this guy. Whoop. Crates. These milk crates are going to be something that we will need a GBO of. And that's 0002 2168. Now what I do off camera with this, whoops. Okay. 2 of them, because there's 2 sitting right there. What I do with this stuff off camera is I enter it into a database program on my phone so I can easily flip through and find it, because it'll organize it alphabetically for me. If you have a smartphone, I use it's a Galaxy S Note 3, I think is what it's called, but it's an Android phone, And I can go to that little Google Market and find me programs. I got several programs. I will add, I'll probably do in the next episode, I'll talk about that particular stuff later. Yeah, I'll do that in the next episode. Okay, so here's something interesting. Okay, let's talk about light beams real quick. If I were to take this item, get the base object of it, come over here to this cinder block, type in place at me 0003 6C01. Wait, what the fuck? That was probably fog. Yeah, it was probably fog. That sucks. Let's try this again then. Okay. You see what I mean by targeting? It gets kind of painful. Okay, now I know I have the right object. Let's GBO that. No, that's the exact same object. What the hell? Holy shit. That was kind of weird. See, you're going to have weird stuff happen. That's okay. Set POS. Okay, what this is right here, get position, set position. Everything works on an XY axis and XYZ axis, and I'm working on the Z axis at this moment. I've asked for its position on the Z axis, which is, well, you'll see. Its current position on the Z axis is 7253.44. I'm going to set it to, because obviously if you go down, it's going to go down. If you go up, it's going to go up. I'm going to set it to 7200. Oh, for fuck's sake. Disable fucking fog. We got to get rid of that fog. We'll do that in a minute. Let's see. Get POSZ. Set POSZ. 7200. Okay. So, this illustrates the point that I was trying to make. You notice how there is no light. There's light over here. But why didn't this one have light? Why didn't it have beams and all that good stuff? Even if I grab one of these beams and spawn them in front of this thing and have it shining out, there still won't be any light. If I put it in this corner will be as dark as shit. There are a lot of objects that do not have light attached to them. You'd be surprised how many there really are. The lights, in and of themselves, are a part of the map. For example, right here, there is light. The only thing that looks like it could make light would be that thing. We have no idea where this light is coming from. It's coming from the actual map. I can target all this stuff. All this fog. I can get rid of all this fog. I can do whatever I want to it. Here we go. Here's another light. There's a light beam. Probably two of them there. There's a light itself, which I can get. Let's see. Okay, that was one of the beams. I can go through and disable and enable and get all this information and move it somewhere else, so that light is not going to follow. The area that's lit up is coming from a light that's based in the map. I can't really think of any other way to describe it. However, there is a small sliver of good news, and I'll show you what it is. Target this bad boy again. And let me pull out my database of legacy items. I actually already, because I've played this game so many times like this already, I have a database of items that I've always keep. Whoops. And there's a particular item in here that I have that I'm going to give to you right now that will give you light. And that is Flame Barrel. If you've ever played with the Fallout 3 Real-Time Settler or New Vegas Real-Time Settler, you'll know that there is a barrel that has fire in it. This particular 0009CF54 and 1, of course. Place at me. You'll notice, poof, that bitch has light now. It does light shit up. Let's see, get POS Z. Let's say I want to put it in this corner up here. Set POS Z. I didn't get the right POS, so let's go back. POS Z. Set POS Z. 70. Let's go with 7200. Nope. 7300. Actually, once I rotate that, it'll probably change, but obviously it's upside down right now. We don't want that. So let's rotate it on, won't be the Z axis, it'll be the X or the Y. So we'll just go ahead and rotate on the X. We'll start with 50. Oh, it's getting a lot more than that. You don't really want to go too high. You just have to kind of deal with it going slow. If you go too high, it starts acting funny. Now we'll go back down to 50 until we get it into a good position. That looks pretty flat. Now we'll set POS Z to 72. Let's do 7150. Ooh, almost. Let's do 7200 then. That's good enough. Get us to the corner at least. We can rotate it a little more too. There we go. That looks pretty good. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I like it to look somewhat good. Alright, so now we get position Y. And we're going to set position Y to the closest whole number, basically, or 10th anyway. 39, it's going to be 3910. Okay? That's going to tell me which direction this is going to move in. It moves to the left. Okay? Which means Y is going to run, if you were looking at the floor as if it was a plane, Y is going to run left to right, and X is going to run back and forth, basically. And then Z is going to run up and down through the floor. Pretty simple. If you have any graphics knowledge whatsoever, or 3D knowledge whatsoever, you'll understand this. If you don't, it's not that hard to pick up. So we know that if I set it any lower, if I go lower than 3910, it's going to move to the left. If I go higher than 3910, it's going to move to the right. So what we'll do, we want to get it to the corner. So we're going to set it to 4100. Too high. So 4050. That's looking a lot closer. In fact, it looks just fine. I like that location. All right, now we'll get the position for X. And set position X. We still need to know which way it's going to go. So I'm going to start off with 2125. Gotta have a space there. 2125, which is pretty close to 24, but it's definitely going to move. Nope, it's... Granted, I spell it correctly. Now let's see what it moves. Okay, that was too much. We didn't get to see a movement. So now I'll go down to 20 and see what happens. There we go. So we're heading the right direction. We need to go down. So let's drop it to 2100. Definitely need to go more. We're going to say 2060. Ooh, close. 50, 40. That's almost got it right in the corner, doesn't it? It's getting pretty snug in there. It could go a little more. So we'll give it 30. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty satisfied with that location. I think it's a reasonable location for a flaming barrel to be in compared to the wall. So what I'm going to do is get position Z, because I can't remember what it was. Set position Z, 7200, right? 7180. It's probably too low. Oh, maybe not. Ooh, we've almost got it there. Now, we'll drop it down to 70. Looks like we're there. That looks pretty good to me. Looks like it's on the floor. All right. Whoops. And there we have it. That corner is now lit up by a flaming barrel. We just officially spawned in a flaming barrel. We got a little bit of light now. Obviously, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass to have to deal with just these big barrels. Well, the beauty of it is you can set the scale of an item that you spawn in. So we already know it's base object. I'm going to place at me 0009 CF541. Enter. That's going to put a second barrel directly on top of this barrel. And I'm going to take this barrel, and I'm going to get POSZ, set POSZ, 7,400. Right? You're thinking, wow, why did he move it up so high? It's through the floor now. Check this out. You type in TFC, toggle flight camera. Press enter and then close the console. You can go fish it out. See, we're still standing down there, but the flight camera is allowing us to move around. And I can target it now and say, oh, that was too high, so let's set it to 7,300 for the time being. Okay, so now it should be sticking through the wall again. Okay, so now I can turn the flight camera off by TFC again. Now I'm back on my body. These kind of things are not that important, but it helps to know these certain things. We're going to set its scale to 0.10. Yeah, holy shit, it's super tiny now, right? Let's make it half the size so we can still see where the barrel's at. Now let's go down a little bit lower. Okay, now I can see the barrel fairly decently, and the flame will move to match the barrel. Now, the reason why I'm even going through this is because I wanted to show you, in that corner, what we can do about light. So we get POSY, set POSY, what we have, 4050. We're going to set it to 3500. That should move it quite a bit. Yep, almost into that corner. Try a little more. 3,300. Might be too much. That is too much. 3,400. There we go. Okay. Now, that's fine for me for the moment. I'm going to leave it right where it's at. Now watch this. I'm going to move it up. Get POSZ, set POSZ, 73. What happens if I go 7,400? Does it go through the... Whoop. Damn. I gotta learn how to spell. It goes through the wall. You can always tell where it's going because the light is following the barrel, not the flame. The flame will follow the barrel after you close console. So we're going to do 7,350. Ah, we have light again. You can actually see the barrel. So the idea is to adjust it until it's still giving us light, but the barrel is not as easy to see. In a sort of sense, as it sits already, it looks like a torch. You could make it a torch on the wall if you wanted to, for that matter. But you can also get it to where it's almost completely through that. If you sit and fudge with it a little while, you can get it to where it's almost completely through that ceiling there, and you can barely see it at all. So it's become like a sort of oil lantern in the ceiling. And that gives you room to not have a giant barrel of flame in your way. That's up to you. It's entirely up to you. The flame barrel is going to be a legacy item. And the reason I say a flame barrel is going to be a legacy item is because, well, we have a gun. It makes fire. We have gunpowder in the bullets, obviously. And we have all this trash laying everywhere. Every scene has trash in it. Somewhere there is garbage laying somewhere. And there are metal barrels. Fuck, all over the place. They're everywhere. So, automatically, you're pretty much gonna have flame barrels pretty easily. So, I consider them a legacy item, because you think about it, watch how much trash you pick up in one swipe. I got rid of that fucking fog. I got rid of that other fucking fog. Just one chunk there. 2 or 3 chunks there. This will be one chunk. This will be another big chunk. You see what I'm saying? There's more than enough trash laying around to fill a bunch of barrels. And we're going to be removing all this trash anyway. But we went through and did this hallway. And I may have actually disabled one of them beams. I don't really care. But we went through and disabled or did this hallway. And it's nice and clean now. And it already feels a little more like home, doesn't it? There's not so much crap laying around. We've made it sort of ours. But we have all this stuff that we've been carrying. And we're gonna address that right now. But first, since we went through this hallway, let's save it.